In the heart of Kansas, 63-year-old farmer Walter Granger stood tall on his porch, gazing out at the golden wheat fields that had been in his family for 4 generations. Developers and politicians had come knocking for years, offering him millions for the land, but his answer was always the same. "No one's buying this land," he'd say firmly. "Not while I'm still alive." Walter shared his home with his 23-year-old granddaughter, Leah, who had returned from college after the tragic loss of her parents. She dreamed of improving and modernizing the farm, but she honored Walter's unwavering attachment to tradition. One morning, a white envelope arrived bearing the seal of the President of the United States. Walter scoffed. "Another offer, probably bigger," he muttered, setting it aside without reading. "You should at least see what it says," Leah suggested gently. "I don't need to read anything," he replied, eyes fixed on the land he vowed to protect. But this time, the letter wasn't about money, and the message it carried would challenge everything Walter believed in. Days passed. The envelope sat on the kitchen table, collecting dust. Leah couldn't stop glancing at it. Eventually, her curiosity won out. "Grandpa," she asked, "what if it's not just another offer? What if it's something different?" Walter shook his head. "I've seen this all before. It's always about money." But Leah opened the letter anyway. To her surprise, it wasn't an offer. It was a handwritten note, an invitation to attend a nearby town hall hosted by President Trump, just 2 towns over. "Mr. Granger," the letter read, "I admire your love for your land. Please hear me out, just once." Leah hesitated. "Grandpa, he's not commanding. He's asking." Walter glanced at her, then back at the envelope. He didn't say anything, but his silence wasn't a refusal. The next morning, Walter came downstairs dressed in his cleanest shirt and best boots. "I'm not saying I agree with him," he mumbled, "but I'll listen." Leah smiled. "That's all anyone can ask." They drove 3 hours to a small auditorium filled with anticipation. Security was tight, but Walter's name was on the list. Inside, townspeople murmured with excitement. Trump wouldn't arrive for another hour, but Walter sat in the front row, silent and still. "Why now?" Leah whispered. Walter didn't reply. "Maybe he just didn't know." A staffer approached and nodded. "Mr. Granger, the President would like to meet with you privately before the event." Walter blinked. "Privately?" Leah squeezed his hand. "Just hear him out." In a quiet room adorned with American flags, President Trump stood waiting. He extended his hand. "Mr. Granger, it's an honor." Walter hesitated, then shook it. "Let's not waste time," he said. Trump grinned. "I can respect that." Instead of diving into deals or figures, Trump asked about the farm. "How many acres?" 300, Walter replied. "What's your water source?" 2 wells and rain, when God allows." Trump nodded. "You remind me of my grandfather. Stubborn, loyal, rooted." Walter didn't smile, but he was listening. Trump leaned in. "I'm not here to buy your land. I'm here to protect it." Walter narrowed his eyes. "Protect it from what?" Trump slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents Walter had never seen before. Plans for a pipeline, one that would run directly through his land. "The developers are backed by foreign investors," Trump said. "They'll come, with or without your permission." Walter's face hardened. "They told me it was just for condos." "They lied," Trump said. "They're already leaning on senators. But I can stop it, if you stand with me publicly." Walter stared at the papers. This wasn't about selling anymore. It was about defending. Back home, Walter paced the porch in deep thought. Leah watched him. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," he admitted. He didn't trust politicians, but Trump hadn't lied. The threat was real. Alone, he might be crushed, but together with the president, he might have a chance. To save everything, still the fear of being seen as a sellout gnawed at him. Laya sat beside him. Sometimes holding on means knowing when to let go. That afternoon, Walter walked through his fields, the wheat brushing against his legs. He knelt and pressed his hand into the soil. Memories came flooding back, his father teaching him to plant, his mother's voice calling from the porch, young Laya running barefoot. This land wasn't just dirt, it was his life, his legacy. He couldn't run. He couldn't surrender. But maybe, just maybe, he could evolve. 2 weeks later, a black SUV rumbled down Walter's gravel driveway. This time, Trump stepped out, alone. "No cameras," he said. "No press. Just us." Walter welcomed him inside. Over coffee, they talked like old friends about crops, drought, hardship, and what it meant to be part of something greater than yourself. Finally, Walter asked, "Why do you care so much?" Trump responded, "Because America's strength lies with people like you. Lose that, and we lose everything." Walter stayed quiet. Then he stood. "Come with me." He led Trump to an old barn, its hinges rusted and its beams etched with family stories. Inside hung a faded photograph, Walter's grandfather shaking. "Hands with President Eisenhower." "My family has always stood our ground," Walter said. "But maybe standing doesn't always mean saying no." Trump turned to him and said 7 words that would change everything. "Help me protect this land with you." Walter didn't reply right away. The words echoed in his mind, not for you, not instead of you, but with you. That night, Walter sat at the kitchen table and signed a paper, not a deed of sale, but a partnership agreement. He would keep full ownership. Trump would use federal power to block the pipeline, and the farm would become a model site for sustainable American-grown agriculture. The next morning, the news swept through Oak Ridge. Some said Walter gave in. Others saw courage in his decision. But when he stood at the town meeting with Trump beside him, everything changed. "I didn't sell my land," Walter declared. "I chose to protect it." Applause erupted. Even his harshest critics stood, recognizing he hadn't surrendered. He'd risen. With the farm safe, Laya suggested a new vision. "What if we modernize? Solar panels, drought-proof crops, a co-op for local farmers." Walter nodded. "It's your time now." Together they blended heritage with progress. The farm that once faced destruction became a beacon of resilience. And the old farmer, he felt younger than ever. But nature had its own test. A powerful tornado hit just 3 miles away. Crops were ruined, fences down, the barn nearly collapsed. Walter was crushed, but Laya hugged him tightly. "We'll rebuild." Then came calls from D.C., neighboring towns, even strangers online. Help was on the way. 2 days later, a helicopter landed in the field. Trump stepped out, carrying boxes of supplies and flanked by volunteers. "I told you we'd protect this," he said. "And I meant it." Walter, moved, shook his hand. "You didn't have to do this." Trump smiled. "Neither did you." In weeks, the barn stood tall again. Stronger, larger, solar-powered. Irrigation systems were installed. Machinery was upgraded. Local teens learned about sustainable farming firsthand. Walter stood in the doorway of the new barn. "We did it," he whispered. Laya squeezed his hand. "You did it." Later, Walter spoke at the Kansas State Fair. Thousands listened as he shared a story of roots, challenges, and unexpected alliance. He ended with the same 7 words, "Help me protect this land with you." The crowd rose in thunderous applause. Backstage, Trump patted his back. "You're the kind of man this country needs," Walter laughed. "Too old for politics, but not too old for purpose." Their partnership became a symbol across the nation, old and young, conservative and progressive, standing together for what matters. Laya launched the Heartland Initiative, a nonprofit helping small farms fight off exploitative development. She spoke on national stages, but always said it began with a grandfather who refused to give up. Years passed. Walter aged, but each autumn he drove his tractor through golden fields. During his last harvest, he stood under the amber sky and whispered to the wind, "Thank you." He passed peacefully that winter. His will was simple: keep the land, keep the promise. Today, Laya runs the Granger farm, now part of a network of protected farms. In the farmhouse, a framed note hangs on the wall, handwritten by Trump, "Help me protect this land with you." Below it, a photo of Walter shaking hands with the president. Outside, 300 acres of thriving land, untouched and alive. Because one man refused to sell until someone came not with greed but with respect, and 7 simple words changed everything.